So the first part of this lesson was just to understand what this composition of function. Now, this one we're just going to do examples. So I've got two functions, f and g, x squared and x minus 1. And now I want to try and make combination with them. So what is f of g of x? Okay. In the beginning it's a little bit difficult, but actually, guys, it's easy. Like I told you, I like this way of writing it, because this makes me think, okay, what is f of g? Let's just break it down. Let's just not panic. Let's just break it down. Let's just write, okay, I know I've got an x. I'm starting with x. Now I'm working myself backward. Let me just write a bit bigger. F of g of x. Can you see that maybe a little bit better? I think. Yes. Right, so I'm starting with x. Okay. Now I'm operating g on it. I'm using that map, that machine. Okay? What does g take? He takes an x and maps it into x minus 1. So instead of g of x, I'm just going to write x minus 1. But I still have to operate f on it. Okay, what does f do? Okay, so I'll write x minus 1. F takes an x and just square it. So give it 1, it will square 1. Give it 2, it will square 2. Give it an x minus 1, it will just square x minus 1. It will be x minus 1 squared. And we can simplify it, okay? So I can write down, okay, f of g of x is going to be equal to x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay, pretty easy. Oh, shalom lecha. Shalom lecha adon, Professor Pupik. Guys, this is a very good friend of mine. אני רק אדבר איתם כי זה התלמידים שלי. כן, אין בעיה. This is, sorry guys, this is Professor Pupik, a good friend of mine from Israel. Came to visit. איך הגעת לפה מישראל עכשיו? יש טיסות? כן, הקורונה נגמר. You know, with all the lockdown, I can't believe how he made it. But he says in Israel it's starting to calm down. So hopefully we'll get here as well. So yeah, long time friend, Professor Pupik. I'm afraid he doesn't speak English, so I'll have to just speak to him here. I'll translate. כן, אני מלמד אותה. מה אנחנו עושים? אנחנו עושים, איך קוראים לזה בעברית? composition of function. פונקציות מורכבות. כן, כן, כן. אז הנה, אנחנו מסדרים לפה. אומר G של F של X, אתה רוצה שנעשה את זה? אולי נשאל אותה, אני אשאל אותה. So guys, he's just asking me a question. I don't really know the answer. He says, okay, we found f of g of x and we got that function. What about if we do the other way around? Okay? What about, I'm just going to say goodbye to, oh, he's here, he can see us. Okay? Right? So what about if we do, instead of f of g of x, we do g of f of x. So first of all, we operate f, and then we operate g. Yes, that's what he asked. Is it going to be the same thing? I don't know. What do you think? Okay, does it matter what the order? Let's try. Okay, so we're starting with x. We first of all operating f of x, so we're squaring it. Okay, so it's going to be g of x squared, because we started with f. Now, we got to operate g. What does g mean? G says, take an x minus 1. Okay, take a 5 minus 1. Take a 6 minus 1. Take a x squared minus 1. Okay? So the answer will be x squared minus 1. And as you can see, it's not the same. Okay? אז זה לא אותו דבר. אוקיי, תודה, לא ידעתי. Okay, Professor Pupik, אני אראה אותך בבית. Say goodbye to Professor Pupik. He's going to go to my place. I'll see you later. Bye-bye, להתראות. Okay, so the order of the combination or composition of function definitely matters. Let's do a couple more examples. Right, next example is we've got these two functions, square root of x, 2x plus 2, and we asked again to create a combination in different orders. So f of g of x, okay, so I will just always write, okay, let's do it and break it down. So it's f of 2x plus 2. Okay? And now what does f do? F simply the square root. So it's 2x plus 2. 2x plus 2 under the square root. We'll deal with that later. Let's do the opposite. So we start with f. So I'm going to do g of the square root of x. Okay? Because first of all, I put a square root. and now I'm operating g. What does g mean? It's basically, right, take x, double it, add 2. Okay? It's in itself a combination, a composition of functions. So now I've got square root of x. So take square root of x, double it, plus 2. And obviously you've got very different results here. Now what they've also asked us here, okay, in blue, is find the domain and the range of each one of the function. Okay? So the function I've got here, the composed function, is square root 2x plus 2. Okay, domain is all the kosher value of x, all the values of x that I'm allowed to put in. So what's the problem with square root? I can't have anything less than 0, right? I can have 0, positive obviously, but I can't have negative. Well, if I don't want to look into a complex number. So I'm assumed I don't want any complex numbers or imaginary numbers. So this must be larger than 0. In other words, x must be larger or equal to minus 1. Am I right? If x is minus 1, that's going to be 0. So minus 1 is okay. And anything above it is fine as well. Okay? Range. What numbers am I going to get here? Okay. Well, we already mentioned when we take a square root and we don't write minus in front of that, we mean we're going to look at the positive value. So x is going to be larger or equal to 0. Yeah? Yeah, anything above 0. So I can get, if x equal minus 1, that's going to give you square root of 0, which is 0. And then anything above 0 can be given, you can get that value. Let's look at the other function, okay? 2 square root x plus 2. Well, domain, now x has to be larger or equal to 0. Okay? It can't be negative, because then we get imaginary number, right? Now, what is the range? Okay, by the way, this should be obviously y, not x, okay? What answers can I get here? Well, the lowest that square root of x can be is 0. It can't be lower than 0. Okay? We can't have a negative square root. So the lowest that this could be is 2. And when this is 0, that goes away, so that's 2. So y is going to be larger or equal to 2. Okay? Let's move on to the next example. Okay, so now I've got 2 functions. One of them is its own pain that we've come across. We don't do it in maths, but we do it in AP. So you've come across functions where they've got different rules for different ranges of x. So if x is 0 above, then f of x is x plus 1. But for negative x's, you say, no, it's x minus 1. So you've got a different set of rules for different x's. You can do that. We've come across them. G of x is x plus 2. I want to start with g of f of x. Okay, so we're operating f of x, and then we operate g. So because we've got different set of rules for different x's, so we're going to have also for that composite one, we also have. So when x is larger or equal to 0, we're going to first of all operate f, which is x plus 1. Now, we got to operate g. Okay, so I'm just looking at positive x's. When x is positive, first of all, we operate f, x plus 1. Now, on top of that, we're going to operate g, which means we need to add another 2. Let's just write it like this for now. Okay? Now, what happens to negative x? Well, negative x, f tell us that we just got to take away 1. And now we're operating g, meaning we adding a 2. So if I want to write that again, okay, if I want to write it, just simplify, I'm going to say, okay, g of f of x is, can you see that? Yeah, is x plus 3, where the x are positive or 0, or x plus 1 when x is negative. So that is our first combination. Let's move on to the next one, okay? F of g of x. So first of all, we're going to have to just add 2. Okay? And then we need to add 1 or take away 1 depending on the value of x. The value of x, what is x right now? The x, I'll just write it like this. Let's write it like that. Okay. So it's going to be f of g of x is simply x plus 2. So I'm going to make it in 2 stages here. This is a bit more difficult than that. So first I'm operating g. I'm going from x to x plus 2. Now I need to do f on top of that. Okay, so all I got to do now is copy that, but everywhere it says x, okay, everywhere it says x, I now have to put x plus 2. So that's not a problem. Okay, so instead of x, I'm going to write x plus 2 plus 1. Now this is the tricky bit. The ranges themselves now changing. Here it says x must be larger than 0, but now my x is x plus 2. So it's x plus 2 must be larger or equal to 0. Okay? And for this one, I'm just going to put x plus 2 minus 1 when x plus 2 is larger or smaller than 0. And then I ran out of space here, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to simplify on top here. 2 plus 1 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. And we can, it will be nice, just polite, to change that into x larger than minus 2. I just move to the other side. And here x is smaller than minus 2. It's just more polite to write it like that. Okay? Guys, we've got one more example. I'll just pause you here. Okay, so it's actually really easy. It's kind of like the first one we've done. So they tell us that there's a certain function, square root of 2x minus 1. And it's a combination of two functions, f of g of x. So we are asked to find f of x and g of x. And I think it's pretty easy, isn't it? So what I would say is, okay, g of x is going to be 2x minus 1. So first of all, we'll take an x. And we'll turn it into take x minus 1. And then what do we need to do to that one? Okay, we just need to put a square root on that one. Okay? Alright? So f of x is simply going to be square root of x. Okay? If you operate g first, and then you operate f on it, you've got square root 2 of x minus 1. Now, to finish up this lesson, I'm just going to tell you that just like we have a combination of two functions, you guessed right, you can have a combination of 3. So you can have h of, or let's put it like that, I can do f of g of h of x. It's a bit like, what do you call it, the babushkas, these babushka, little Russian doll inside the Russian doll, inside the Russian doll, okay, babushkas, f of g of h of x, which obviously can be written as f of g of h of x. Okay? And in fact, let's just do it for this one. Okay? Instead of going from x to 2x minus 1, I can do a middle stage, isn't it? I can say, okay, x to 2x. Then I can take 2x minus 1, take 1 from it, and then do the square root. So in this case, okay, what's the first one? H of x will be 2x. G of x, okay, we doubled it. Now we're going to do x minus 1. We'll just minus 1. And then f of x will be square root of x. So a combination of all three can create the original one. That's it, guys. That's it for today and for this week. Have a lovely rest of the week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.